American Levi Leipheimer is the new leader of the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. He now gets to ride in yellow on the Queen stage, and that's next. On stage one in the Rockies, Levi Leipheimer rode a finishing kick into front-running position, taking both the stage and the leader's yellow jersey. Now the racecourse reaches a new plateau as the peloton heads for incomparable heights. Their first astounding summit, the highest point they'll reach in these mountains, 12,000 feet of Cottonwood Pass with a staircase of dirt beneath their wheels. And on this day, 12,000-foot climbs come in pairs. The second, a drive to Independence Pass, where cycling becomes a lonely endeavor, when the greatest challenge is simply fighting for air. At the finish, there's a breathtaking reward in Aspen. But first, the punishing Queen stage awaits. Stage 2 of the USA Pro Cycling Challenge is next. The Rocky Mountains are ready to throw the highest peaks at the riders today on a magnificent stage which we call the Queen Stage. 130 miles between Gunnison onto Aspen, as this is presented by Nissan. The start town is Gunnison. The riders have already set away from there under blue skies. When they get here to Aspen, though, they will have conquered the massive heights of this brilliant mountain range. 24,000 feet of climbing. Hello everybody, I'm Phil Liggett. Alongside me is Paul Show, and behind us is the finishing line today. And by the time they come here, they will have crossed two 12,000 feet climbs. No professional race has ever done that before.
They certainly haven't, Phil. This is what they call l'etapa reina in Spanish, the queen of stages. I don't know what to say. Is it monumental? Is it historical? It's going to be everything. And I'm like a kid in a candy shop because this is going to be a race.
Well, it's certainly high. It's certainly hot. The rain has already hit the riders on the Cottonwood Pass, so they've got every element of the sport today. But yesterday it was the brilliant ride by Levi Leipheimer to capture yellow. He was our road ID choice of the day yesterday. He was also your choice overnight as well.
Let's have a look at how he did that, Phil. Fantastic, really. Frank Schleck made a hard burn at the front end of the main field. Levi Leipheimer in second place was waiting for the moment to pounce. Right on his wheel was no other than Cadel Evans. But look at this acceleration. He saw the road open in front of him, and he decided then that he was going to make the move. And once he got the gap, then all of a sudden he gapped Cadel Evans. A little bit further back, Henaya, the Colombian rider, had to try and respond. But that opening gap, once he really made his legs burn, he really had to go.
And breaking clear he did. He thought he might have gone a little bit too early, because Henaya was a rider who had missed the move here, and Levi Leipheimer had spotted that gap underneath his arm, and he thought, I've got to go now. I can't leave it any longer. But the question was, would he hang on to the finish?
Well, he did hang on to the finish. It was a long move, but he had to go. And once he got that, the 10-second time bonus that he grabbed crossing the line in first place also made it a double header for Levi Leipheimer, Phil, because, of course, he got the yellow jersey too.
Yes, and that was our Road ID ride of the day yesterday, yours and ours. So, as he salutes the crowd, don't forget, go to roadid.com/ride and make your pick on today as well. A little bit more here with the Cannondale Athlete Profile facts on Levi. 37 years of age, as he told us yesterday. The older he gets, the faster he seems to go. He won already a week ago the 2011 Tour of Utah, and already the winner too of the Tour of Switzerland. That was in June. Here he is yesterday, pulling on his Quiznos yellow jersey, all smiles. He said, I don't know if I'm going to win the Tour, but I'm certainly going to give it my best shot. And today is the day to do that. The overall standings by United Healthcare. Let's have a look at how they stand. He goes out with an 11-second lead over Christian van der Velde, 17 over TJ Van Garderen, 17 over Tour de France winner Cadel Evans, and half a minute over Robert Gessing.
A little bit further down, Brett Buckwalter down into 6th place at 34 seconds. Rory Sullivan in 7th place. Tommy Danielson from Garmin Cervelo, he's in 9th, but he's looking for 37 seconds on Levi Leipheimer.
So that's how it stands when the riders started. You might see over my shoulder, by the way, there's a bike race going on already, because the top women, including the former and Olympic gold medalist Karen Armstrong here, riding around the circuit. But let's have a look now at the Radio Shack route that they face, and take a look at this.
Scary, that's the only word I can come up with right now, Phil, because when you see what the riders have to do, it's going to be a very nice start when they move away from Gunnison, but almost immediately it's into the mountains, the high points of the Rockies this afternoon. Because look at that, climbing from 7,745 feet through Almont, then all of a sudden they get to the top of the first big climb of the day, past Taylor Park Reservoir, then they go over 12,000 feet, drop down into the valley very quickly after they've gone over a very interesting dirt road, tricky descent down into the valley, and then it's the final climb of the day, the one that I think puts fear and trepidation into the heart of every professional bike rider this afternoon. Independence Pass, 12,000 feet of climbing.
Well, let's have a look at the Colorado.com fact sheet now. 129 riders. One rider was eliminated yesterday. 16 of the 17 teams remain intact. There are 3 big climbs today. There's a smaller one at Category 3. Then we go over Cottonwood Pass and over Independence itself, where there is a massive crowd waiting to greet the race. 2 sprint points along the way at Almont and Bona Vista, and then they'll come down to the finish. Yes, and I think I said Karen Armstrong there. I did mean Kristen Armstrong. I apologise to Kristen, who's still riding that race, as we continue our coverage with a look at the Honeymilk sign in here as we go to the start town of Gunnison this morning. Levi Leipheimer, his first day in yellow. This is Andy Schleck, having a pretty solid ride at the moment. We haven't seen the best of him yet. And this is the start line now. Levi Leipheimer waves to the crowd, a very popular leader of the race, as he heads now over on this immense tough stage. Listen to the crowd here. As we now move away here, this is our Nissan Electric Start. That's what we call it when the riders get to the start line. There is the official racing start now, and the crowd ready to see them on the way. Early today on the lower slopes, heading towards the Cottonwood Pass, Andy Schleck here, look as though he's working pretty hard, but having a chat nonetheless with Dave Zabriskie there. At the first Smashburger sprint today at Almont, it came up very early on the 10 miles out. An incredibly fast finish from the man we used to call Fast Freddy Rodriguez on his comeback trail, very much so, beating Viviani, who won into Gunnison yesterday. But this is not a pretty sight. This was a really big crash happening early on today on a straight road as well. Some riders have been quite badly hurt here. Ivan Basso, number 51 on the far side of our picture there, putting his glass on. He seems to be okay, but he's still pained a little bit with his wrist. Other riders, though, were lying. Fatini just below us on the picture there from United Healthcare. On the far side of the road, I think it's Andrew Randell who was down. And we've also had, that's Frattini, I think, a nasty crash for him. Some of these riders have not rejoined the race. They have, in fact, abandoned the race, but we haven't had confirmation. It was very early on out on the course. We're sure to be going to the live pictures. Just look at the state of that wheel and the bicycle frame, completely written off there. This is Randell lying on the road here, I think. No, this is not. This is Daniela Caligarin, the Italian rider. Very serious facial injuries for him, and I think he'll be straight off to hospital. Jelly Belly rider there, we think he may have broken a collarbone. This was a bad shunt, and it's the first crash we've had since the race began in Colorado Springs, and we don't want any more of them. This is further on. Basso rejoined the race, but as you can see, he's flexing his fingers on his right wrist. Let's hope it's okay for Ivan. Now let's get to the racing action. 7 riders getting away, 6 riders at first getting away very early on. Danny Pate, Montiel, Pedranza, Steinson, Oostlander and Jeremy Powers gaining a lead of over 5 minutes. Take a look at the roads here. They're on the unpaved surface of the Cottonwood Pass. Then this man decided on the climb of the Cottonwood to go and try and join them when they were 4¼ minutes ahead. Alejandro Ramirez, and he's a 10-year pro, this boy, and he catches them too before they get to the summit over the top of the pass. Now all this racing, of course, very much earlier on today. Up over the top of the Cottonwood Pass we go. The peloton sitting nearly 4 minutes behind. Look, it's a 13.7 miles climb, topping out at 12,126 feet. This is the scene at the summit. It's bizarre, isn't it? In the middle of the Rockies, and there's nothing in sight except the riders, the crowd, and the unpaved roads. And first over the top went Walter Pedranza. Colombia getting first and second. Ramirez, who just caught up, got second place as well. The peloton going up and over the top, 3 minutes and 50 seconds behind. Just look at this. Is this France or is it America? Well, when you're this height, it's got to be America, because there's no climb this high in France. And look at the drop-off on the right. That is not for the nervous at all. Down into the Honey Stinger feed zone, everybody nicely relaxed. The same 7 riders still well ahead of the field, but being contained. Radio Shack there, signaling which bag he wanted to take. This is Frank Schleck getting his feed for the day. Remember, that one big climb behind them. There's still another big climb to come. Then it was down into Bona Vista, 68 miles under the belt, and this was where we enacted our other Smashburger sprint, and Oostlander taking that ahead of Jeremy Powers and Danny Pate. Now, a little attack, and this happened literally moments ago. New professional Andre Steensen of the Saxo Bank team has tried to make a move. Not too sure why. Maybe he wants to get to the Independence Pass climb earlier. And at the moment, we're about 34 miles from the finish. Now, there are threats of thunderstorms in the region. We've had some rain descending in the Cottonwood Pass. 81 degrees. It is actually getting quite humid as well, which I think is a little bit unusual. Light winds, and don't forget all of these beautiful pictures coming to you in high definition and making the Rockies look what they are. Most sensational scenery in the world. Looking down the finish line briefly there, the women's race is just finished, by the way, as we now get back up to the leader, Andre Steensen. So settle down for the action. Well, Paul, we've had plenty of action. It's been an incredible day of racing. We've got no update on the riders who were involved in that crash, but 1 or 2 I don't think would have been able to continue. A little bit of concern too for Ivan Basso, because he's flexing his right hand as if he's hurt his wrist. As we go down to the peloton here, and 4:11 is the time they've been in the saddle today. Over 4 hours, and there's well over an hour of racing left, probably nearer 2, I think, because of Independence Pass. Now, the roads are obviously completely closed now, but we have heard stories of people going up the Independence Pass 2 days ago with their tent. I think they call them wigwams in this part of the world, and they've been staying the night on the pass, making sure they're there.
It's almost Tour de France type atmosphere, Phil, as we look here at the leader. In fact, he's got an advantage now of a minute over the remainder of the breakaway. He was with the 6 riders, and the main field have started to pull it back to inside of around about 3 minutes. They're doing an incredible job, the main field, being led, of course, by Team Radio Shack of Levi Leipheimer.
Well, the situation hasn't changed. In fact, ever since we started today, getting 6 riders, we got the 1 rider join them on the first climb of the day, the Cottonwood Pass, first category. We're now on the very, very lower slopes of the Independence Pass. We're scaling right to the top again, and not quite as high, but we're talking just a few feet difference lower down from the Independence Pass compared to Cottonwood. This rider deciding he wants to see the road before anybody else.
You might just notice that little monitor on his handlebars there, that blue device. Well, that gives the rider information about how far he's ridden, gives him information on his heart rate. It also gives him information on the amount of wattage that he's producing. Most of that is really used by the team doctors and the trainers to see just how a rider is recovering, having paced himself through a race like this, and that's fed down into a computer overnight and analysed by the team coaches.
Only 1 rider out of the race so far. Chris Barton was sadly eliminated yesterday. He was outside the 9% time cut for BMC. That's Cadell Evans' team. And I think he was having a tryout with the team as well. So he didn't quite get through that first big day. As we're now continuing now, just going from the peloton now. Again, another Colombian on the move. This is Edouard Ortiz of the EPM team. And they're not reacting to him just yet. So you've got to watch out. When Colombians make a move, you know the hill is going up.
Yes, they're very 2 strong.
So just looking here, Steensen is in the move here, and interesting one it is too. He's riding for the Saxo Bank team, the same team as Alberto Contador and Richie Porte. Richie Porte, actually, the Australian, was due to have ridden this race, but he was replaced just before the start, so I'm not sure why that was, but Richie is not in the race. Well, the race is now well underway, of course. We're heading towards Independence Pass. The crowd are waiting. It's going to be a real battle today, and we might even have a new leader. Welcome back. Let's take a look at the United Healthcare race leaders jerseys here. The Quiznos yellow jersey is Levi Leipheimer. He also runs in the points competition at the moment as well. And the other jerseys, the young rider for the TJ Van Garderen. He's still the young rider in the race, and TJ is in the Sheets jersey. And then the King of the Mountain, which is sponsored by Nissan, that is currently held by Eduardo Beltran. Leipheimer there also looking pretty good with 2 jerseys. Of course, the actual points jersey, which is sponsored. Oh, by the way, Brad White was in charge of the energy win yesterday, I believe. Exergy jersey, yes. 4 hours 17 they've been in the saddle, and now Steenson, he's been with the Sungard team, the Saxo Bank Sungard team, for 4 years now, but he hasn't won a race. But he's out in front, and he's approaching the most difficult climb of the day, and some might say of the whole tour. Because Independence Pass, it's the 3rd day they've gone uphill today, but look at the length of this one, 17.3 miles, an average gradient of 6.5%, which is not steep. It's a little bit steeper perhaps than some of the climbs in Europe, but it's the distance that will hurt, and of course the height. They're going right into over 12,000 feet for the 2nd time today, and the distance too. Everything's included in this stage today. This is Ortiz, who's trying to push on. He's been a pro for 10 years, this man, as he continues to push on to try and catch the leaders. He set himself a gap of around 3¼ minutes, but they are closing in a little bit now. That's come down. Now, we had a lot of trouble with our pictures yesterday. So far today, they've been behaving themselves, but just now, as we're getting into the cottonwoods around here, it has come down a little bit. Anyway, let's go now to the interview with Bob Roll, who's out at the start today, as he brings us our Honey Stinger interview.
I'm here with Aaron Campbell and Colin Osborne from Honey Stinger, the official sponsors of the Feed Zone, my favorite part of the race course. Tell us about your company.
Honey Stinger is based in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, so we are a Colorado company supporting the race. We make organic energy products, protein bars, energy bars, these awesome waffles, energy chews, gels, anything like that. For more information, honeystinger.com, and then also an interesting tidbit, Lance Armstrong is part of the ownership team, so pretty cool.
All right, plenty of bike races out there. Why have you guys chosen this race to be a part of the sponsorship?
Like Aaron said, we're a Colorado company, and you know, we figured with it being a Colorado race, we need to be involved, kind of bringing back days from like Mercury Tour and Coors Classic. So it's the one we had to be into. So
the riders should be well nourished throughout the week's racing.
Absolutely.
All righty, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
That's if there's any left, of course, after Bob Roll has finished, but nonetheless, that's good to see. And this is the new race here in Colorado, which has really caught the public imagination in just 3 days. Well, he's been with Saxo Bank for 4 years, this rider, Paul. He hasn't won a race yet, but he is a real goer, and he's gone to the bottom slopes of the Independence Pass here with a little advantage. Although I think we're going to see a big reaction from the peloton on this climb.
Well, they must move on this climb, Phil. There's about 30 kilometres to go from the top of the climb down to the finish, but it is all downhill. And if you can manage to get yourself an advantage of around about a 1 minute mark over the main field, you've got a very good chance of conserving that advantage. And I'm sure that is something that the Colombian riders in this race have really paid attention to. We're looking here a little bit. This is the rider who's trying to get himself across the gap, Eduardo Ortiz. He opened up around about 30 seconds, but very quickly, Phil, he's going to get caught by the main field.
Yes, he's creating an attraction here, and the gap is coming down quite quickly now, 2:10. So 2 minutes 10 seconds is the gap, and as we speak, it's 2 minutes to him, so he's only 10 seconds ahead of the field. This is, and that's based on this rider here, who's trying to slip the other 6 riders, which are down to 5 now, because we've lost one of those leaders out of the pack. Sander Oslander, he was the stagiaire, they call him, an apprentice professional riding the race. After the 1st of August, you can try and join pro teams and see how you get on. I wonder how he'll get on. We'll find out soon. Welcome back as we now continue our little journey onto the lower slopes of the Independence Pass at the moment. This is Andre Steenson, who's just broken away from what was an original break of 7. It's reduced a little bit, but the peloton is continuing now to close in quite quickly. They've been out to nearly 5 minutes, this breakaway. They've been held for a long way at around 3 1/4. But now the tempo has been picked up by Levi Leipheimer's team of Radio Shack, and it's coming down fairly rapidly. It's a good move by Steenson, this. There is the peloton now, and they're under the escort of the men in red, Radio Shack. The one man in yellow is Leipheimer. The rest of the teams are just going to watch and wait and see how they handle these slopes on the Independence Pass. We know there are a lot of people waiting to welcome the tour as it goes over the top. And then it is an incredibly rapid descent right down into Aspen of about 20 miles. Well, let's go back to Bob Roll now, because this time he's with Dirk Friel, who is going to tell us all about Training Peaks.
I'm here with Dirk Friel, the co-founder of Training Peaks, the official race analysis software for the USA Pro Cycling Championships. What do you guys look for when you download the data from the racing?
You know, it really depends on the device being used. We look at GPS, heart rate, power, speed, and then from there, the rider and coach can use that data to maximize their training. And then, you know, they also can use it to strategize within the stage race.
And the average rider, probably not as fast as some of the professionals out here. How can they benefit from your guys' product?
You know, anybody can use Training Peaks, not just the pros. So same tools the pros are using, just like the bikes, the same bikes that the pros are using. You know, they can use the same software to plan and analyze their training with Training Peaks.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. Making riders faster, one step at a time.
That's the point. That's the idea. Thanks.
All righty.
Thanks, Dirk and Bob. Back now with the leader, Andre Steensen. He's a Danish rider from Saxo Sundgaard, and still holding his own just as the climb gets a little bit harder. Well, the pictures are frozen a little bit again. I think it's again because of the altitude and the helicopter over these cottonwood trees. But just at the moment, Steensen, Paul, he's a man that's joined the team of Alberto Contador. Contador not here, but trying to fly the flag for Saxo Bank. It's an interesting move. The leader on the road of the race is Danny Pate, the rider from Colorado Springs here in the USA, where the race actually started. He started the day a minute 26 behind Levi Leipheimer. So for a few minutes more, perhaps he'll stay the virtual leader, but they're going to start picking up now, and I don't think they're going to wait for the top of the climb. They're going to want to break this field up.
I'm certain we'll start to see, once it starts to get a little bit steeper, the early part of this climb actually is only around about 10 or 11%. But once we start to get up to the top, it does get that little bit steeper. But most of the climbs here in Colorado, they're not like the Alpine passes. They're a much steadier, easier grade, which allows the riders to actually climb with a slightly bigger gear. But once we get up to the rarefied air, you can start to see the attacks, which will be produced, Phil, by the Colombian riders. Levi Leipheimer there, very comfortably in the yellow jersey, using his teammates to perfection.
And he's been training at altitude, and he does originate from Butte, which is also a hilly area on the west side of the United States. The Cottonwood Pass, which they came over, is the highest pass, and that was standing around about 3,700 meters high, or 12,100 feet. And I don't think it's going to worry Levi so much, but they are concerned, as they have been since this race began, about the quality of the Colombian riders who simply love altitude. We might get a clue on that later on this very day. So just watching the riders now as we pan away from the heads of the Radio Shack, rejoin the leader Andre Steensen in the beauty of the Rocky Mountains here in Colorado. And soon we're going to see it from the view of an airline pilot. See you in a moment. Welcome back. We've said farewell to Gunnison Day. This beautiful picture is coming to you by Colorado.com. We're now heading up towards the next town. So the town of Gunnison continues on our scene here. It's one of the grueling stages. The ride will be welcomed in Aspen at the other end after we conquered the Cottonwood and the Independence Pass. And for the rustic source, the nearby Maroon Bells and the surrounding national parks are legendary as hiking destinations. This is the most beautiful part of the world, often referred to by the local people as paradise. So we're still with the lone leader, and as we pick up the race again, we're now hearing news from that crash, and I'm sorry to say that Daniela Calagarin, who left the race in the ambulance, has been flown down to Denver, and he's been confirmed to have 2 broken hands, as well as that facial trauma which we saw on the picture. So very, very bad luck indeed. Apparently hit one of those gratings across the road to stop cattle wandering out of a particular zone. So as we've got a freeze up here, let's go back to the start earlier today. Bob Roll here talking with Christian van der Velde.
Christian had a pretty good ride yesterday. Are you satisfied with yesterday's results?
Yeah, it was. We had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, or how hard it was, or how easy it was going to be. I expected to be like a group of 20 or 30, and it was far from that. And it was into a headwind also. So, yeah, I'm happy with it. Hurt really bad, and hopefully blew out the pipes for today.
Well, it was a pretty explosive finale with a lot of time gaps on a pretty short climb, especially compared to today's two monstrosities of climbing. What are you anticipating for today's stage?
I anticipate a lot of suffering, but yeah, yesterday was explosive, and it was won by a very unexplosive guy. So it just shows you how good Levi is going. So but yeah, today's gonna be just a lot of suffering. It's this long, painful death going up Independence Pass, you know. And yesterday we already got a little taste of what it's like being over 11,000 feet, and today we'll go even higher.
And a long descent before the finish line in Aspen. You expect a small group to come to the line together?
I don't know. I mean, I think we saw in Utah a couple of really strong guys going away, and we kind of came back, but we could never catch the 5 leaders. So this time, you know, hopefully we, you know, if there is some couple of guys, we'll all work together and come back together. But you know, I could see there being a group of 5. I could see there being a group of 10, and you know, depending on the wind, maybe even bigger. Who knows? But maybe not bigger. I take that back.
With a little bit of a sprint, maybe you fancy your chances?
Yeah, for sure. You know, and then there's some hills before it. It's up and down all the way into Aspen. So, yeah, I mean, it's open for people are going to be on their knees, and you know, if you don't have any teammates, then you're really going to have to be pretty aggressive. And I think best defense is offense.
All right, Christian, best of luck.
All right, thanks, man.
Yes, and Christian van der Velde himself has very, very good form indeed, coming off the Tour de France, where his team, Gunnison, won the team competition in that event. And just take a look at this peloton climbing up here. Really fast tempo riding. This is going to tell on this field as they get further up the mountain. Leipheimer wisely holding on there, Paul, to a place at the front, but the way they're riding up here, they are really riding very quick tempo indeed. All of the work being done by Team Radio Shack. That is something I think we would expect, but my goodness me, these boys are going to crack the field wide open if they continue at this tempo.
Well, that's what I think this climb is going to be, Phil. It's going to be a wearing down process, a grinding down process for the other riders in this peloton. They're all pretty much hanging on for dear life at the moment, and they're just looking at the wheel, concentrating on the wheel of the rider in front of them. And eventually, once the heart rate is, you just can't keep the heart rate up there at 180 beats a minute for many of these riders. All of a sudden, you pop and you get dropped off the back of the pack.
Andy Schleck is the rider in black off to the left as we look at the picture here. 3-time second in the Tour de France. That looked across as a teammate, I think, and a little wry grin there. So he's okay at the moment. He's going into unknown territory. Cyclists don't race at 12,000 feet anywhere else in the world, and here we are heading up towards the top of Independence Pass. Andy doesn't know what will happen on the climb. I wonder if Leipheimer is pointing out the summit. He can't possibly see it just now.
No, I thought that was rather funny, Phil, yesterday after the finish when Frank Schleck was asked about 12,500 feet. First of all, he did not want to know what it was in meters. Well, I was the sad person who told him it was almost 3,700 meters. He said, gosh, I've only ever been that high in an aeroplane.
That's absolutely right. Well, he's got his flying license yesterday, so he can go even higher today when he gets up to the top of the mountain here. Thankfully, at the moment, no rain. The thing is that the weather here is beautiful at this time of the year, but you do get these thunderstorms blowing in, and when the rain comes, it is torrential, but it only lasts minutes, and let's hope we don't see any at all today. This is Andre Steensen, the leader here now, who's laid down his gauntlet. He's making a run for the top of the Independence Pass, but the riders behind are actually containing him. He may not be in the lead in about half an hour's time. Yes, Independence Pass in the Continental Divide. The peloton are racing steadily but surely. They've wiped out all of the breakaway, which had been away for nearly 4 hours, except Andre Steensen, who is still holding a lead of about 1 minute and 10 seconds. And here he is now. And he's hanging on in there. But he's looking to me as though he's starting to struggle. He's just passed through 9,500 feet. Remember, we're topping out at just over 12,000. Now we've just gone over the footage of the highest mountain in the European cycle races in France and Spain. So now he's riding into no man's land here. How will the body react? The extra 1,000 feet, I think, will make all of the difference. The thing is here, because the mountains are always taller than you as you race around them, unlike the twisting turns of a European mountain, you don't actually feel as though you are very high up, except your body reminds you with a shortage of breath as you continue to proceed up towards the summit. Well, our pictures aren't doing too well at the moment, but Steensen here also hanging on in there. The 4-year pro with Sundgaard. He was actually came over from a couple of the small Danish teams before Sundgaard, Saxo Bank Sundgaard saw the potential in this ride. He's a very good super domestique, as we call him, a real helper for the team leaders on Saxo Bank.
Well, it's a very gradual climb. The average gradient is only 6.5%, but it's really the length of the climb, or 20 miles of climbing, almost 30 kilometers, which is what's going to make this climb that much more difficult. And it's once we start to get up towards the summit of Independence Pass that I'm waiting to see whether or not these Colombian teams, Gobernación de Antioquia, which were very, very dominant in the recent Tour of Utah, are going to place a move there with their man Sergio Henao.
I'm certain he'll try to sprint clear, but what they've got to watch out for here, because it is a long downhill run, when the pressure comes on, then they've got to make sure they've got the strength to go with that group. Christian van der Velde knows that he was very surprised by the fact that Levi Leipheimer had the power surge to win yesterday, which has told him that Levi has extremely good form. So they can't afford Levi to slip away on this climb. So they're going to watch out for a move by maybe not one rider, but by maybe all of the race favourites.
Yeah, I think Levi Leipheimer, Phil, he might as well ride a defending race today, because it's the other riders who need to take the time away from him, because he can sit back and wait to see how the attacks are going to happen, because as far as he's concerned, I think he will try and lay down the foundations of an overall victory here in tomorrow's individual time trial around Vale, because that is going to be a very tough test for anybody.
Yes, but it's a mountain time trial actually in Vale, which is the other famous town in Vale as a ski station, as compared to Aspen and Snowmass, which is just here as well. Look at some of the cars now who had to move up here either very, very early in the morning before the police closed completely the pass, or come up last night and stay the night. And I would imagine it would be quite chilly up here in the night.
It certainly would at 12,500 feet in altitude. We're starting to get to the slightly steeper gradient now. You can see almost, Phil, because of the pedaling action of Steensen, it's almost changed. He's gone down to the much lower gears. He's over to the left-hand side, and this is, in fact, Christian van der Velde making a move.
Well, that is a very, very interesting move. Suddenly he's obviously feeling good on the climb, and I'm not sure whether that was in his plan of the day, but he's felt good, and he's putting a little bit of a dig here now. Is anybody going to join him?
Well, just look it over. You can see everyone now starting to scramble, and it's the Colombian team APM coming across the gap, and also joining in the move there, Team Spidertech. There's been no response at all by Radio Shack.
Well, they're playing it cleverly here now. They may be waiting for a counter-attack, which might welcome. That's Eduardo Beltran, who has now come across the gap as well, I think, at making 4 riders up front.
In the green jersey coming across. Now, this is dangerous. Wearing the green jersey as a second place overall in the points classification is Sergio Henao. Now, he's the man they cannot give too much time to on a slope of a climb like this. Levi Leipheimer, Phil, has to respond.
Yes, now this is a planned Colombian attack here. As soon as they waited for the American van der Velde to make his move, they quickly shot out of the gap. They were waiting for somebody to lay down the gauntlet, and then they react. And unfortunately, our pictures have reacted as well here at the moment. Let's hope they steady down pretty quickly.
I think it's all to do with the speed that we're going up this mountain, Phil. Maybe the helicopter can't keep up with the riders here this afternoon.
This is a flashback as to how he did it. He stirred the riders in the face and gave it a go and went clear. And then a quick reaction coming from the EPM rider. And I suspect that the EPM rider there is probably Infantino. But that's how they got 4 riders together. There's no doubt. In fact, they've clawed it back here, and the man who's clawed it back is Andy Schleck, followed by the yellow jersey of Levi Leipheimer. And the reason for that is, it is because of Sergio Henao, who is in that green jersey, who got into the move. He's the one man they really fight to control on the mountains.
Well, they weren't able to control him all that much in the recent Tour of Utah. Another move coming from the Colombians. This is the steeper part of the climb now, Phil. Bear in mind, we've already been climbing for 15 miles or 25 kilometers, but this is the grippy part of the race now, and you can see what sort of damage is happening at the back end of the pack.
They started the attack, the high-altitude riders from Colombia, just after we topped the highest mountain in Europe, which they would have raced over, because we're now approaching 10,000 feet here, and that is where they started the attack. And the reaction has come for the moment. But starting this far down the mountain, Paul, if they start to throw attacks in like this continually, this is going to shatter the peloton.
No, it is. There's not going to be very much more than 10 10 or 15 riders together once they get up towards the summits of this climb. And it's interesting to see that Andy Schleck, looking over his shoulder there, he's controlling the pacemaking. I think he was looking back there to see what was the position of brother Frank.
Well, the position of them all now is they are on the edge of their saddles trying to control the Colombian riders who know this is their playground. It's got to be here where they win the race, because they won't have a chance when we're going downhill to the finish. They need the gap now, and they need a good couple of minutes by the top of this climb.
Let's not forget Levi Leipheimer is the man who leads the race at the start of the day, but it's all really a question of seconds. The Colombian riders need to take big time back today if they want to have any chance of dominating Levi Leipheimer in this bike race. And of course, let's not discount Cadel Evans, who sat pretty comfortably up there in the top 10 yesterday.
Well, I'm pretty sure it is Rafael Infantino here who's gone clear of the field for EPM. He's got his rhythm going now, and he's getting on with the job, and he keeps casting a glance over just to see if anybody comes up to him. And for the moment, they've regrouped.
Well, Phil, yesterday you talked about the largest American flag that you'd ever seen when we went through the town of Gunnison. I think I've just seen the largest ever Swedish flag that was created. So they're obviously here supporting Gustav Larsson.
Well, with all respect to Gustav, he won't be in the front today, but he might be tomorrow. He's a good time trialist, although it is a hilly time trial tomorrow. But Infantino just continuing to move away from the field here.
Well, he's just got to consolidate. He's looking over his shoulder to see there's a reaction coming from a Rabobank rider. Now, that wouldn't be a surprise to see the move now coming from Robert Hessink.
And the pictures here, and I think we've wiped out Andre Stinson. I didn't see him caught, but he must be back in the field because they're not giving any time checks on him anymore. It's just Infantino out in front at the moment. And this is Infantino. There we can see his number now. It's a team we've never seen race before, and again, like the Gobernación de Antioquia, it's sponsored by the local government in Colombia, and they've brought some very, very good youngsters here. Infantino at the moment sits in 27th place overall, but he's only 1 minute and 10 seconds off the race lead, and the computer says he now has 1 minute and 10 seconds. Well, that's wrong for a start, but he's in the break anyway. Now, the riders in black coming up here now are the riders of Garmin Cervelo. Radio Shack have found now that a lot of riders are taking on their chances here, and they can't control this race at the moment because another rider has gone clear from the same team, EPM. This is their second attack, a reaction once more from Aino. The Sergio Aino at the back there, pedaling across the gap, but this time Levi Leipheimer is hooked up to his back wheel. He's not allowing the move. The pressure's really on now. Van der Velde is still there as well, so he's hanging on in there. Now, just how many attacks by the Colombians can the peloton absorb before somebody finally snaps the elastic? Because this rider here, and I think this one is Piemonte, looking over his shoulder to see if he's done any damage. The pictures are... No, they're all together again. Our pictures steady down once again. Speed limit 30 miles an hour. We're not far off that, the way they're jumping around on the road today. As the race continues, Infantino is still just ahead on the climb of the Independence Pass. Welcome back, the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. This is the United Healthcare standing at the start of the day. Leipheimer leading Van der Velde and Van Garderen, two other Americans, by 11 and 17 seconds. Brent Buchwalter's there too. These are all the American standings in the race. Brent is sitting in 6th place. George Hincapie is in 8th place overall at 37 seconds. Back now with Rafael Infantino, who is the leader here. The Colombian has played his card. They've wiped out everybody up front. I didn't see Steinson captured, but they must have wiped him out in that flurry of attacks. And all the other rides, I think, have been put back in their place here. But in fact, the field has been decimated, and Andy Schleck has been caught out here. He's trying to repair the damage. He's not actually coming back. He's just hanging on just at the moment, as we also see another rider there from the Exergy team just slip back, and that's Diaz, who was in the move earlier on today. So he's slipping back a little bit. Schleck looking over his shoulder, doesn't look too concerned, but you never know with that. You can't quite tell by looking at his face exactly how he really feels. This is the legs of the leading rider here, who's caused all sorts of trouble. They're completely broken up now on the climb of the Independence Pass. I'm not too sure he understands English, but they're shouting at him, go, 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 as we come up towards 5 hours now. So let me remind you, come and visit on Twitter now, because we're going through an area which we call the Last Gus, and local riders will know all about that. And if you want to chat about each other, we've created a website for a Twitter site there for go to #LastGas. Chat amongst yourselves, give us your experiences, tell you what you think of this area of the Independence Pass climb, and later in the show we'll try and put one or two of them on our coverage here today. So tell us your thoughts. Back with the riders here at the front. Radio Shack now very much under pressure, but still in control. Well, it's taken a while, Paul, but Andy looking in a bit of trouble. And Radio Shack getting a little bit of control back into the peloton here after those timed attacks. Now, there's still Columbia dictating affairs, but I would say it's not quite gone their way. They've played all the cards, but they've not gained a lot. Take a look at that. The zigzags of the top taking us up to 12,000 feet. We are at 10,600 at the moment.
It's about 2.5 kilometers to the summit of the climb. That's 1.5 miles. And most of these people, Phil, they spent 2 days up here. Some of them sleeping in the cars, and some of them even just putting up tents to sleep at the side of the road.
But it would have been a great atmosphere. It would have been a Tour de France atmosphere on Independence Pass. Once they kick over the top, it's all downhill to the finish in Aspen. And this rider here has played his card now, Infantino, but has he played it enough? Because in fact he hasn't really gained a lot over the field at the moment. He's only half a minute ahead. Just look at the cars here. We could be on the Col de Galibier in July, huh?
We certainly could. You just saw him looking over to the right-hand side there. He was trying to peek between the cars to see and try and guess what his time advantage was. Well, he's not actually building a massive advantage over this group of Levi Leipheimer's, because he's currently only 30 seconds ahead. And on the slopes of a climb like this, that's not much more than 300 or 400 meters.
Well, Leipheimer has handled that flurry of attacks and reacted to them, and all is well for him at the moment. The leader of the Tour. He's still in yellow because nobody is going to affect him at the moment. Infantino up front needs to win by 1 minute and get the 10-second win bonus to take the yellow jersey away. And Van Garden has gone, slipped up the outside. I think you can see him. There he is. TJ Van Garden in that blue jersey of the young rider. And that's caused a quick flurry of reaction as well.
And in fact, it's reduced the numbers of Radio Shack riders in this group, putting serious pressure now onto Levi Leipheimer. He has to stay calm. He has to make sure that he uses his team as much as possible. Each one of those riders who have been in that group with him will ride to the maximum before they have to give up, trying to stay alongside him for as long as possible.
Well, as always, when somebody attacks, our pictures tend to get a little bit too excited, and they've locked up again here. And Van Garden is trying to push away. Now, that's a very intelligent move coming up towards the summit. A little bit of a gap, though, is going to cause a panic descent down the other side here. Infantino probably could do with a little bit of help, and he might well get it, you know. Van Garden looks over his shoulder, sees the peloton is going backwards away from him. He's going to have the leader in his sights pretty soon as he comes through. Now, Van Garden, remember, is only 17 seconds behind the leader of the race, Leipheimer. There's a 10-second bonus for the first man down to Aspen.
And let's not forget, Phil, he's a guy who's not scared of the high mountains. We saw that in the Tour de France. He was doing a lot of work in the Tour de France. He tried to get himself a stage victory on the road up to Superbest, but still the lone leader surviving on the front end of this main field. Rafael Infantino, he's looking around all of those corners, I think, Phil, wishing that he could get himself to the top of today's climb.
Well, forgive me for thinking this is the Tour de France, because take a look at the crowd now as they cheer these riders up to the high spot here of Independence Pass. We're now approaching 11,000 feet above sea level. TJ Van Garden, who comes from the mountains himself, is now starting to dig deep and try and reach the high altitude man from Colombia.
Well, talking about Van Garderen, Phil, amazing to think that he's only just 23 years of age, and he's riding with the experience of a man who's been a professional for 5 or 6 seasons.
He wore the leader's yellow jersey, the leader's King of the Mountains jersey in the Tour de France, and the first American to actually wear it. Others like Greg LeMond have won it, but he had the matter of wearing the yellow on that day, so he didn't pull on the polka dot. But he only held the lead for 1 day, but he indicated to us everything we've said about him one day, I think, will come true. He's a real talent. He's thrown down the gauntlet. He wants to reach this Colombian, so he perhaps will have some help on the descent and try and get over that finishing line about 7 or 8 seconds in front of Leipheimer, and that will do nicely.
This is a very serious move by Van Garden. As you said, Phil, it was only about a week ago that he got his first ever professional victory. That was a time trial in the Tour of Utah, but we noticed him last year when he finished 3rd overall in the Criterium de Dauphiné, which is a race just before the Tour de France that a lot of Tour de France contenders used to fine-tune their form.
And that was on August the 12th, which is TJ's birthday. But look behind you, because the yellow jersey has reacted now as well. The yellow jersey is coming up behind TJ Van Garderen at the moment. So this looks now as though they're going to nail him back. TJ has caused a flurry, but notice this too, because the gap has gone. The other boys are missing. That's a Garmin rider behind it. Wouldn't surprise me if it's Van der Velde, because the Schleck brothers are not here.
No, they certainly aren't. This big acceleration now has really dynamited the front end of that main field, and it's all because of TJ Van Garderen. We're not too far from the summit of the climb now, as we join here Rafael Infantino. He will probably not have very much more than a 15 or 20-second advantage as we crest the summit of this climb because of these massive accelerations behind.
Well, Colombian cyclists have won both of the major passes today. Cottonwood was won by Pedranza. He's been caught now. Infantino has won the climb of Independence Pass, but the reaction has come now, and it's TJ Van Garderen been joined by Levi Leipheimer, and we think Christian Van der Velde, as they are now trying to break clear. It is a death-defying descent of Independence Pass, and they're going to have to take risks to open gaps.
Well, in fact, just having a quick look there, it was quickly to see that Frank Schleck is making the response behind there to try and get himself across this gap.
Well, there is a gap trying to get up here as the riders now start to dwindle over the top of the climb. Speeding down the other side is the leader, being chased by 3 riders.
It was Christian Van der Velde who got himself back onto that group. Those are the heads of state, Phil, I have to say, of American cycling from the past and for the future. Levi Leipheimer, Christian Van der Velde, both riders who finished in the top 10 in the Tour de France, and TJ Van Garderen. Now, this is a serious move here. It could be consolidating his overall leader, Levi Leipheimer, with a move like this.
The 3 top on-form Americans have reacted in unison here. They all ride on different professional teams, as now we start the long way down from Independence Pass, and it really is a high-speed descent of 20 miles or more than 30 kilometers, and they're going to hit speeds down here of probably 100k an hour.
Yeah, up to 60 miles an hour, that is, Phil. And I tell you, in the Tour de France recently, Thor Hushovd, at the end of the day, his computer was checked by the team mechanic, and it registered 112 kilometers an hour. Watch it, TJ. This road gets a little bit narrow just towards the side there, but he's safely around that little bit of a rock. And have a look at that. 50 miles an hour if you want some proof. That's 80 kilometers an hour.
We're getting up there, and this is behind the leader. A little bit of a wobble going on there. We'll see if we can have another look at that, because that was quite a nasty wobble. It also affected Levi Leipheimer as they made that corner there at high speed. Now, these roads here are fairly wide at this point, and they switch down fairly gentle curves. That's why they can go so quickly. But there's 1 or 2 very serious turns where they've got to check and put those brakes on hard. They've got this man in their sights.
Well, they're looking at around about 10 to 15 seconds. All they need are a couple of tricky little corners. They'll use their advantage to get around those corners and close down the gap on the Colombian. He's the man who lit this race on fire, Rafael Infantino. He's doing a phenomenal job, but he's now being chased by 3 serious candidates for the overall victory in the USA Pro Cycling Challenge this year.
And remember, Leipheimer had to react, as did Van der Velde, when TJ attacked, because TJ would have taken the yellow jersey at the blink of an eyelid there. He was only 17 seconds off it. Van der Velde, remember, is in 2nd place overall in this race. So we have the top 3 riders now on the counter move, going away from the field. As they descend now, we've slowed down a mere 45 miles an hour just at the moment, around 70, 72k an hour. So as they watch those left-hand bends here, because of the winter, the road's a little bit rough on the inside of the corners. Now, as we start to go down, we have seen a tremendous counter move there, but it says a lot for the quality of the American riders to rip away from the field like that. This is how TJ started. He launched the attack without looking back, but quickly there was a reaction chasing him down. Leipheimer and Van der Velde have joined him. Now they've got to catch the leader. We'll take a break. Aspen, city limit, elevation 7,900. Hey, it's almost ground level, that, because we just topped out at 12,000 feet here on this 2nd stage of the race, brought to you by Nissan. And we're heading into Aspen now at high speed, believe me. 7 riders were in the early break. This is how it went with our United Healthcare summary. The crash involved Evian Basso. 1 rider at least has gone to hospital, not Basso. We've seen Pedraza win on Cottonwood Pass. Infantino just win on Independence. And now we've got 4 riders going for gold. The top 3 in the overall this morning, Leipheimer, Van der Velde, Van Garderen, have joined Infantino on the way down to Aspen. And there they are, 4 together. A little spot of rain coming onto our camera lens. Let's hope we can get off this descent before it gets quite slippery. There's the overall situation. Infantino himself could move up here into the top 4 places. He's a minute behind Leipheimer. Remember the first 3 riders. What's happened here? There's a bit of a rejoin. Cadell Evans is in this group. There's the overall standings for you at the start of the day. There are the time gaps. Evans, who was 17 seconds behind, has just rejoined in this small group on the way down. Well, I tell you what, Paul, those boys must have flown off the top of the pass to bridge that gap so quickly, and Evans is in there.
Yeah, well, Evans, he is an extremely good descender, but there's another move coming straight over the top there. Everybody's throwing caution to the wind here this afternoon. They see this as a very good chance of getting themselves a victory.
Well, as the split is starting to move away here now, a little bit of resumption. There's going to be some nervous riders now because of the weather. It is starting to rain.
It is, and I just noticed in there, Phil, as well, alongside Cadell Evans was his faithful teammate and pilot fish, George Hincap. He got himself over the top of that climb with Cadell.
Yes, well, strange things happen on high spots in thin air. As we look at the pictures are holding on, but back downtown, the crowd are ready, but the clouds are ominous over Aspen, outside of our commentary box as well.
Well, that's the finishing line. You can see Smash Burger, and that's one of the sponsors of the event here, and everybody says it's an extremely good hamburger. Well, probably sold quite a few out on the road this afternoon. That's the just around the back end of the finishing line here, and the race takes a very circuitous route, and as you can see, looking a little bit blustery on the finishing line this afternoon.
Now, we know it's very technical, Paul, but I've just found out the reason for our picture breakup. In fact, the aeroplane, which flies above the race, fixed-wing aeroplane, has got ice on its wings, and they've got to get rid of that ice off the wings, of course. It's very, very cold at altitude. He's flying at about 16,000 feet, so we should get those pictures back shortly. Now, there's the lovely crowd downtown. You see, there's no rain down here. We're all set for the arrival of the team, but it's going to be, it seems to be, a big group sprint here as they come through. They're waving to us, we'll wave to them, and we'll see you in just a moment. Welcome back, fun and games at the finishing line here in Aspen today as the riders have just come over Independence Pass. They're enjoying the scene down here, and our pilot is trying to de-ice the wings of the fixed-wing aircraft so we can get some pictures back to you as they come down to the finish here in Aspen. There's no change at the front. We've got a bunch of select riders at the front, so while we're waiting to get those pictures, let's rejoin Bob Roll now as he discusses the Nissan innovation with United Healthcare's head mechanic Steve Sperling.
When I was a professional, there was only one choice in rims, front and rear, same rim, training, racing, mountain stages, time trials, one choice in rims. You got one rim and you had to like it. But times have changed for the better. I'm here with Steve Sperling from the United Healthcare Cycling Squad to take us through some of the choices now that the riders have for their wheels.
Hi there. I've got in front of me the Envy Smart 6.7 rear wheel, and the thing that makes it smart is that it's actually a wheel system. So in the back you've got the 70 mil deep, 27 millimeter wide rim, and in the front you have the 60 mil deep, 26 millimeter wide rim. It's quite rounded, allowing it to be very comfortable in the crosswinds, but still very aerodynamic. That would be a wheel very good for the time trial or the flatter stages. On some of the hillier days, we would switch to the Envy 45 clincher, which is obviously not quite as deep as the Envy Smart 6.7 wheel. We switched to a clincher tire, the Maxxis Gourmet tire, which is very good grip. Also on the stages where we might see some rain or we might see some dirt, the Maxxis Gourmet tire has an amazing grip, great rubber. We actually won't use a special tire for the dirt. We stick to the Gourmet in almost all of our stages, and that is the majority of the wheel choices we tend to use is the Envy Smart 6.7 or the 45 millimeter clincher.
How will they make me faster?
Yes.
Even I can get faster with
Yes,
you.
of course they will.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, will they think of anything else in the world of cycling? It is such a great sport for innovation, isn't it? Well, we're still without pictures here with the aircraft trying to get the ice off its wings. These are the crowds in downtown. You can see the wind is getting up here now. It wasn't here in evidence before, and it was very warm. I think it still is down here in Aspen. They'll come right off that bottom bend for the sprint finish. No circuit of the town when they come through. So don't forget, by the way, each day when we go live at 3:30 Eastern time, we have a program called Rematch in the Rockies. Now, this is a different program. A lot of you are telling us on Twitter how much you're enjoying it. We show you things we can't always show you in the event. We take you inside and behind the scenes. So if you get a chance, see that before you join our live action each day. Rematch in the Rockies. It's well worth a look, believe me. Well, normally that mountain will be covered in snow. But today, happily, we're in midsummer here in Aspen, Colorado. We're going to catch up with you and the pictures just as soon as we can.
Right now, so that's your overall race as they're making their way down the mountain. Yeah, you know, one of the great things about the GC.
Well, welcome back. Now, don't forget, also running concurrently with our race is the Vuelta a España, the Tour of Spain, the cycling's third and final Grand Tour of the year. And you can watch this race every day live on Universal Sports. Daily coverage begins there at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So you can watch both races on the same day. And it's the Tour of Spain. It's developing to be quite a good race at the moment. Although Mark Cavendish, the big sprinter, he's given up yesterday with heat exhaustion. Amazingly, that race is suffering from the heat, more so than here in Colorado. Well, we're looking down. The wind has really hit town now, by the way, as if it's going to bring over quite a heavy rainstorm. There is the rain now. It's already started. It's come off the mountain. So everybody's starting to scurry away for cover. That's a shame, really, because this crowd is ready to bring home the race today. We still haven't got pictures from out on the mountain. As far as we know, they are coming safely off it in a reasonably large group, 15 to 20 riders. But what we don't know is whether Andy Schleck has managed to get into that group. Certainly Cadell Evans did, and I think it might only be Andy Schleck who has maybe missed out on the descent. Well, while we're waiting for those pictures, if you're just joining us and wondering what's happened, this is how the day has gone. It all started this morning with the sign-in here by the new yellow jersey, Levi Leipheimer. And knowing that this day we called it the Queen Stage because of the two high passes we're conquering. Then there's this rather horrible crash here, which has resulted in Daniele Calagarin being taken to hospital in Denver. He was flown there with 2 broken hands and quite nasty facial injuries. I think he actually lost a couple of teeth as well. And lying down on the road there's Andrew Randell as well. This is unfortunately Calagarin. So it really has been quite a bad shunt, this one. Very, very sad indeed. Not what we'd like to see. Ivan Basso there, just flexing his wrist. He seems okay, but he has hurt it. This is one of the rider's bikes. Apparently there's one of those cattle gratings across the road meant to control the movement of the cattle on the mountain, which caused the problem. There is Daniela. Very, very sad indeed. A lot of riders here were injured. The vast majority got back on the bikes and caught up the peloton, including Ivan Basso. He paid a visit to the medical car. Clearly concerned about his wrist, just checking out there to see if there's a little bone broken in it on the move. Then we got onto the climb of the Cottonwood Pass. As you can see, this is an unpaved road partway up the side the riders were climbing from. The peloton were over 4 minutes behind at one point here, and there were 7 riders up front. They'd been away virtually from the start. And then as they got up towards the summit, there was a counter-attack. In fact, Alejandro Ramirez caught up with them. He bridged a gap of 4¼ minutes to reach them, then went over the top in second place behind Walter Pedranza. And then after that, the breakaway imploded, really, and one man trying to survive was Andre Steensen on the lower slopes of the Independence Pass. But then the real action started in the peloton as they closed out, wiped everybody out, and attacked by Infantino, one of the Colombian riders on the EPM team. He started a move, and this caused a quick reaction from the rest of the riders, and not least TJ Van Garderen, the rider in 3rd place overall and only 17 seconds off the yellow jersey. This was a good move by TJ. Quick reaction from Radio Shack. But the gap opened just a little bit as he headed up towards the summit of the pass. He was still chasing Infantino. Wasn't too worried about Infantino. He's more worried about gaining time over Van der Velde and over Levi Leipheimer. Over the top goes the Colombian in 1st place, topping out at 12,000 feet for the 2nd time this day in a massive ride of 130 miles. But the crowds were getting ominous as we started the descent. Meanwhile, TJ had been joined by Levi Leipheimer, while right up behind TJ in his slipstream was also Christian van der Velde. The top 3 riders, despite that kick going around the corner from TJ, the top 3 riders overall at the start of the day were now in the lead of the race, or they would be soon, because they were catching up with Infantino. Here they are coming together. It looked at this point as though they were going to race away and increase their overall lead tonight. This wasn't to be the case, despite hitting speeds of just over 50 miles an hour. And despite struggling to control the bikes as well on the corners, they got back up. Now, I think we can show you the result over the top of that pass after Rafael Infantino, Leipheimer, Van der Velde, Van Gordon, and then the other Colombian danger man, Sergio Eno, followed by Lucas Schuster. That was a great ride by Lucas, getting over there in 6th place. Tommy D up there in 7th. So this, the circumstances a change here tonight now. Pedranza will be pulling on the Nissan King of the Mountains jersey tonight, ahead of Oostlander, who was in the early break but dropped and is actually behind the race as we speak. Well, you're really up to date now. All we would like to say is we've got pictures for you, and I'm afraid we haven't at the moment because of the problems of icing on the wings of our aircraft, which brings you those pictures. So we'll take another break. Rejoin us in a moment. Welcome back as we look here at the images again now. There were the Flowbots, by the way. They'll be enlivening everybody down in Denver on the last day. Now, this is the breakaway, still piling on the pressure. Christian van der Velde, number 31. TJ Van Garderen driving on. They really are racing here. They're racing so well. I'm wondering if Levi Leipheimer is here. It's a very small group. George Hincapie is up into this group. And also in this group is Beltran Suarez. Well, TJ is forcing this pace, Paul, and it looks to me as though he's got himself away from the group here with Hincapie. The erstwhile leader of the Nissan King of the Mountains, Beltran Suarez, is in here. Oh, Suarez Beltran is in here. TJ, Christian van der Velde, but I think Levi has missed out.
Looks like he's very much missed out this afternoon. And it could have been on the descent field, because once that rain started to come down there, we have no idea actually what happened out on the course. Levi Leipheimer is here. He doesn't have any teammates alongside him at all. Cadell Evans is in this group. Now, he's not going to chase because he's very happy with the situation. He's got George Hincapie in the front. Hincapie probably not looking to win the US Pro Cycling Challenge overall, but give him a chance to get in a breakaway like this and he'll go for the win.
Well, he will. There is a time gap between the yellow jersey and the leaders here now at the moment, and Levi is trying to put things to rights. He hasn't got much time left before he flashes into the finishing line in Aspen here. He will lose his lead here if Christian van der Velde or TJ grab a small bonus. We haven't got the exact time gap at the moment between these two groups, but they're very close to the finish.
It's Tommy Danielson in that group there for Garmin-Cervelo, and that's a very good move by him. He's one of the riders from Garmin-Cervelo who said that he wanted to try and get himself the overall victory. Number 2, you've got to take your hat off to George Hincapie. Cadell Evans must be thinking it's Christmas here this afternoon, because he can sit on this breakaway and he's got his fingers up and he's hoping that he's going to see a victory by George Hincapie, but this is a massive chase.
Well, TJ, I don't know if earlier when we spoke to TJ before this race began, he'd earmarked this stage for victory. Had a very special reason, because his girlfriend Jessica Phillips, also a racing cyclist, is living in Aspen, and she said you better win the stage. Well, he's in the breakaway and there's 6 of them clear now, and they've got rid of the yellow jersey. A complete turning of the tables here.
And Christian van der Velde should be in that group behind with Levi Leipheimer, but if this breakaway stays clear as it is right now, well, TJ Van Garderen will be looking to line himself up to be the new yellow jersey tonight.
Yes, number 31, Tom Danielson. We saw him in that breakaway, and this is a good move, a very strong move indeed by Garmin-Cervelo. Up underneath as we're heading towards the 1 kilometre mark under the Maxis 1 kilometre banner. We are only 1 kilometre out. They're off the mountains. The time gap is real now. And the crowd is cheering them on the last bends of the race. They've got to watch these corners.
No, they certainly do, especially those little white lines across the road there. There you can see Hincapie up into 4th position. TJ Van Garderen is giving everything here. I think he might be putting in just a little bit too much pressure in here. Tommy Danielson's up into 3rd place. Hincapie's in the ideal position there, Phil, in 4th.
Well, I tell you what, Levi's missed out here, and he's probably going to lose his yellow jersey for sure now because of the time bonus at the finishing line. I think you're right. He may have got a little bit too excited here, TJ Van Garderen. He's hit the front too soon, and he could well be leading out for the wrong men here. Oh, Tommy Danielson's looking pretty good. So too is George Hincapie, who can produce a very fast sprint.
No, he can. TJ Van Garderen, he's really starting to gap all these other riders. Tommy Danielson's actually having a very difficult time to stay on the wheel. Still waiting to get around this final corner. You've got to be very careful, Phil. There's the group of Levi Leipheimer. He's losing a big chunk of time this afternoon.
But they're racing up to the line now, still gritting his teeth. George Hincapie coming on the right of the picture, the former US champion. He's going over the top of TJ Van Garderen. This is a great finish by George. Now, who would have said Hincapie would win? TJ Van Garderen is second. Tom Danielson crosses the line in third. I think Suarez was there in fourth place. Now the clock starts, Paul. It's Hincapie who gets 10 seconds, and that is a good result, in fact, for Leipheimer. But there's a 6-second bonus for TJ.
Well, there is. TJ Van Garderen will be the new overall leader here this afternoon. But what about that, Phil? 38 years of age, George Hincapie, 16 participations in the Tour de France. You can't keep that man down, can you? Now look at the clock. The clock is ticking. We're in excess of 30 seconds now.
They've slipped up badly on the descent here in the rain, because now Levi Leipheimer's gritting his teeth and getting best of the rest. But, or is he? Because Cadel Evans is taking him on. Cadel is sweeping up from the back of that group, but they've lost 45 seconds today, and TJ Van Garderen may not have won the stage for his girlfriend Jessica, but he's in the next yellow jersey.
He certainly is in the next yellow jersey. He's going to have to defend that tomorrow, Phil, in a very difficult uphill mountain time trial. I think that race was lost for Levi Leipheimer, Phil, on the descent. He made the move on Independence Pass, but then the rain started to come down, and the young bucks, guys like TJ Van Garderen, took a few risks, but they couldn't outfox the old man George Hincapie. What a star.
That was a tremendous ride by George, the ever popular George Hincapie. That's going to go down a long way, because they will just love him for what he's done there. George Hincapie next year will ride his 17th Tour de France, and now he has won a stage here in the inaugural USA Pro Cycling Challenge.
Well, I just noticed Frank Schleck there talking to the team helpers over to the left-hand side there, Phil. So he was obviously in that group as well. I haven't seen Andy Schleck. These are the team helpers there, just trying to get themselves sorted out and telling the riders where the hotel is.
There's George Hincapie. I think he's being led off by his brother Rick there, Ricardo, as he'll be coming up for his prize presentation, the stage winner. You can see how everybody's delighted. Whenever this man gets a result, everybody just loves it.
No, he originally from Queens in New York. In fact, he moved down to South Carolina because he wanted to further his career. He wanted to train in the big mountains of South and North Carolina. And I think that's paid. A lot of guys are going to spend a lot more time out on the road here, because this guy's just lost himself 2.25 minutes. This guy, in fact, has lost himself the overall lead, but don't put him down, because tomorrow a time trial might go to his advantage.
Yes, and that Best Young Riders jersey which he's wearing there is going to be replaced today by a yellow jersey. He keeps the lead in Best Young Rider as well, of course. As they go around behind the stands here, the rain is starting to come down rather heavily at the moment. Now, this is Andy Schleck coming in here, so he's lost quite a few minutes on the way down the mountain, as Chris Butler is the BMC rider with him. Andy's taking it very, very gently around the streets of Aspen here. Well, I think we can say, Paul, that he's lost this tour on this ride today, while Leipheimer's kept himself very much in it. But the riders coming over the lines, you can see 3 minutes has gone by already. And so Andy Schleck, I don't think, had anywhere like getting back up there after the climb of the pass. He was dropped on the pass.
Yes, he was, and then I think he probably didn't take too many risks on the descent because of the fact that the rain started to come down. Even when we looked at the first day, I think Andy Schleck was actually riding to try and look after the interests of his brother Frank. Frank, despite the fact that he came to the United States and then flew all the way back to Europe, then came back again, is in better form than his brother. Tommy Danielson also, don't put that man down, because he was in the right move here this afternoon. As Andy Schleck now, he's lost a big chunk of time.
That's a big move for Tom Danielson. They're also getting into that move. As we look here, Andy Schleck coming home. He knows that the crowd really love him. They'll be a bit surprised to see him this far behind, because he certainly lost the race today overall. That doesn't mean he won't pop up and win a stage later in the week. We've still got 3 more to go, but he's lost nearly 4 minutes today. Andy Schleck, a little wide look on his face there, thinking what might have been, but frankly, the altitude beat him, I think.
Well, there's been a lot of riders here this afternoon. It's not very often in the sport that you get to ride up to almost 4,000 meters in altitude, and I think that has had some strange effects on some of these guys' bodies here this afternoon. But we will come out again tomorrow, the big individual time trial around Aspen, and I'll tell you one thing, Phil, I think there's going to be a massive crowd there, because a lot of people have actually taken their holidays to come and watch this race.
These groups coming in now, almost 5 minutes down. It's a 12% time limit today, so they've got no worries of elimination, these riders. They're well inside as they start to come down. See that Ted King was in this group finishing now. I also saw Alejandro Ramirez, the winner over the top, the rider who was second over the top of the Cottonwood Pass, has also lost 5 minutes on the running.
Just at the back of that group, the ever-popular Jens Voigt, there he is in the black and white jersey. He found a little bit difficult over the last couple. And there's Hayden Ralston, the Kiwi national champion, in his black and white jersey.
Riders still racing for second here to make sure they squeeze inside. 5 minutes gone by since George Hincapie won the day. So George Hincapie, by the way, that's his first victory since he won the national championship of the US back in 2009. So no wonder he was delighted with that. Well done, George Hincapie. As we continue to, let's have a little look at that finish again. TJ Van Garderen really did dice it in the streets. He led almost throughout the last kilometre, but George Hincapie was waiting for his moment. A wise head on those old shoulders of cycle racing for George, and he was won by lengths, didn't he? But a good ride by the man who's finished third there, Tommy Danielson. He's done very, very well. George gets the victory ahead of TJ. TJ's reward will be yellow tonight. Tommy Danielson in third has kept himself well in the hunt, though, to challenge him in the remaining days, because we have a time trial tomorrow. 23rd career win for George. He's won more than that, I can tell you. He's won about 32 races in his life. And he's almost 38, well, he is 38 years of age right now. He's 38 in June this year. Let's have a look at the United Healthcare final stage result today, as we've just seen Hincapie, Van Garderen, Danielson. Edouard Beltran, who was the King of the Mountains leader until today, he finished in fourth. Then 45-second gap to Cadell Evans, sweeping up from Lucas Yusa, who had a great ride today for Lucas, fighting back after that injured knee, remember. Levi Leipheimer, ninth. But the important thing is not the order of finish, but the time gaps. They're all in at 45 seconds off the pace. So we're getting ready for the prize awards now, and can you believe it, after a wonderful few days here in Aspen, the rain is coming down now. It's provided a spectacular end and a great victory for George Hincapie. See you soon. Welcome back to the wet streets of Aspen now. We've just finished. There's still riders coming in, by the way, even though we're approaching 10 minutes after the win by George Hincapie. So let's have a look first of all at our Road ID ride of the day. There are plenty of them. You get your chance to vote later. We've chosen George Hincapie as he wins his first bike race since August 2009, when he won the National Road Race Championship of the USA. He wanted that one, didn't he? And he gave it his all. Hincapie getting the victory ahead of TJ Van Garderen. And so don't forget to go over to roadid.com and you make your pick, and we'll reveal your decision tomorrow on our program. roadid.com/ride. Let's have a look then at our United Healthcare results. George Hincapie is a long way today, wasn't he? 5.5 hours in the saddle. TJ profited most, though. He's in yellow tonight. Tom Danielson didn't lose anything at all. He stays in third today. Edouard Beltran fourth, but loses his lead in the King of the Mountains. Javier Acevedo completing the top five there. The Colombians making the mark. Sixth in that breakaway, Bruno Pires of Leopard Trek. Now, at the moment, one of the men behind this very race was Lance Armstrong. He's here in Aspen, and now here he is talking to Bob Roll.
Lance, you were instrumental in bringing a big-time bike race back to Colorado. What does it like to? What does it feel like to see it here in Aspen?
Feels amazing. I mean, it's it's one thing, I will say, it's one thing to go out on a bike ride and think of something and dream something up, but it's a whole other thing to pull it off. So I can only take credit for the first part, but after that, there were a lot of great people involved, a lot of people on committees, a lot of people did a lot of volunteer work to get this thing going. You got to thank all the sponsors, all the volunteers, all the teams for being here. And with me simply riding around the Rocky Mountains here in Aspen and saying, hey, we need to bring a big race back, that's great, but that was just a very small piece of it.
And how do you see the future unfolding for this race?
But look at the stage today. You see a young kid like TJ Van Garderen assert himself. You see an old veteran like George win the stage. This is what this is about. This is about an older generation and a younger generation, but also a throwback to the, I don't want to say your very old generation, but a lot of history, a lot of heritage in this state with big-time bike racing, and it needs to continue. I mean, there's no reason that this state doesn't have great events that can showcase great young talent.
And how do you fancy the chances of your former teammate Levi Leipheimer in the Radio Shack guys?
In the time trial, well, you know, we got the TT, so that's the. I mean, obviously that's his specialty. He proved he has a lot of power yesterday. Perhaps today was a little technical. My heart goes out to him because I know I hate descending in the wet, so it's just one of those things where you hit the brakes a little too much, and then all of a sudden the gap opens and it's over. So he'll come back with a vengeance tomorrow. He'll be ready.
Alrighty, Lance. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well done, Lance Armstrong. Yes, he was involved in the inaugural suggestion. They brought this race onto the calendar, and it's been accepted by the public. And after 3 days, it's been watched by a lot of people around the state of Colorado. It is a state made for bike races. They're still coming in, by the way. These are live pictures, having lost time down there. Lance Armstrong in Aspen here, and I'm hearing now that Bob Roll's a busy man, but he's now found the stage winner, George Hincapie. Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I am thrilled to take the jersey. Yeah, it was once I bridged up to that group.
How does it feel to get one here?
It has been a while. You know, there was 4 guys away at the top of the climb, and I helped Cadell come back. And then I thought, you know, I might as well take a chance here. And I bridged up to the 2 guys away. And once it was 5 of us, I knew that you know, I had a really good chance of winning, and it worked out just perfect.
Who was doing the brunt of the work in the breakaway on the descent of Independence Pass?
Well, once first when I caught up to the 2 guys, it was all of us working. Once TJ caught up, then it was up to Tom and TJ to do most of the work because they were going for the overall, and you know, I had Cadell behind, so I didn't want to help them to get too much of a lead. So I was able to sit back a bit in the last 3-4 kilometers, and you know, TJ did a strong pull there in the last kilometers, got a gap in the corners. I bridged up to him and just went around him.
Tell us how dangerous the last few corners were. It looked a little bit dodgy out there.
Very dodgy. I was hoping that I wouldn't go down. But, you know, the bike was working great, and I felt good. And I was in a good group there. All the guys could handle the bikes really well. And we took some big risks, but we stayed up, and it worked out well for me.
Congratulations, George.
Thanks, Bob.
Yes, well done, George. That was a real great reaction from George Hincapie there. His first win since August 2009. But you know, you never know when your day is going to be your day. It worked out perfectly for him. And as he said, once TJ Van Garderen and Tom Danielson joined that breakaway, then his job was done. He had to go to the back of the breakaway and just wait for the finish and live in hope that Cadell Evans would catch up, his team captain. And when he doesn't catch up, then you get the chance to win. And that's exactly what George Hincapie did today. So well done to George. It's been a while in coming, and he's really enjoying his time now. Of course, he was part of the Lance Armstrong setup when Lance won the Tour de France 7 times. This year he was on the winning individual riders team again, with Cadell Evans winning, and he's been with Contador as well. So he's ridden on the team of 9 individual winners in effect of the Tour de France. Now let's have a look then at the new overall standing presented by United Healthcare. They should make interesting reading. TJ Van Garderen, the best young rider in the race, is now the best rider in the race, full stop, as he gets the jersey. George Hincapie comes up into 2nd place with that ride today. Tommy Danielson stays there in 3rd place. Levi Leipheimer 4th, but still only talking seconds here. Christian van der Velde is 5th. Cadell Evans is 6th. There's still plenty of room for improvement. Hessink is there in 8th place, and Rory Sutherland completes the top 10. Back to Bob. I think he's got TJ with him now.
TJ, great result on today's stage. You didn't quite get the stage win, but you must be satisfied the way the finale unfolded.
Yeah, I mean, I am thrilled to take the jersey. Yeah, it was once I bridged up to that group, I think people saw that I was going to take the jersey, and then they weren't really willing to work. But yeah, I mean, even just to take 2nd after doing all that work I think it was a good result, and yeah, I'm thrilled with the jersey.
You have a time trial tomorrow. Do you think you can hold it? You have a pretty good lead.
That's the goal. I mean, yeah, I have a pretty comfortable lead, and I mean, normally I go pretty well in time trials, so hopefully I can hold on.
Pretty big group partway down the descent, but then how were you able to get a little bit of an advantage of?
Just people started attacking, and it looked like some of the guys were timid in the wet corners, and I just, you know, I just went for it.
Almost a hometown advantage for you.
Yeah, my fiancée, Jessica Phillips, she was born here, so I come up here a lot, and I've ridden the descent once or twice.
Well, congratulations on today's stage, and best of luck in the next few days to come.
Thanks, Bob.
Well done, TJ. He really worked for that, and he really had to. He tacked all the way on the climb up Independence Pass. He gets the yellow down in Aspen. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will have all of the podiums for you, and we'll wrap the whole day of racing up wet as it is. See you in a moment. Welcome back. We're waiting for the prize presentations now. All of these beautiful images taken early in the day. You can see the rain around the sky provided by Colorado.com. As we came off Independence Pass today, the rain decided to visit the tour for the first time, and it's caused its differences too. First of all, though, let's go down to the podium. This is the women's race result here, and a very fitting recipient as well. You just heard the announcement, Kristen Armstrong here. She was the overall leader. They've been racing for 3 days here, and Kristen Armstrong on the comeback trail now. She took time out to have a family, and now she's looking for a place in London in the Olympic Games next year. She has won herself already an Olympic Games gold medal in Beijing back in 2008 in the time trial.
Yeah, amazing winning that title, then finishing 5th place in the World Time Trial Championships that year, and to come away from the sport and then come all the way back again just goes to show the talent this lady's got.
Yes, and they raced in the dry, and they put on quite a show too for the big crowd that was waiting for the arrival of the men's event. Kristen Armstrong here. Let me see now, she'll be about 38 years of age, Kristen Armstrong is now.
In fact, she was. There's Lance Armstrong over there on the left-hand side, talking to TJ Van Garderen.
Yes, and he was so pleased when TJ Van Garderen got the leader's yellow jersey, because he sees that as a rider of the future, and that the youth of the USA cycling world is now beginning to emerge for the next 10 years. And TJ, I think, is heading up the charge in that department.
No, he certainly is. The amazing thing about USA Cycling is they've had an incredible development program over the last couple of years. They've had riders dotted all over Europe. They've got a house in Belgium, they have a house in Italy, they have a house in Germany. Yeah. And they send the riders through over there throughout the whole of the international season to develop them, and now it's starting to pay dividends. Amazing thing, Phil. I mean, I can say that because when I turned professional, there was one American professional on the international circuit, and now there's 4 American teams.
And there he is, up on stage, gazing out across Aspen, where his fiancée was born, Jessica Phillips. And now he pulls on the maillot jaune, the Quiznos yellow jersey. Every day we've had a change of leadership so far. I wonder if it'll be different tomorrow, because TJ has said he's happy with his time gap. It's only a few seconds, but he's got a time trial tomorrow.
No, he has, and let's not forget he won the time trial, as you said, Phil, in the Tour of Utah. But I think what's more important is he's got good legs. He rode well today, and he's not scared of hurting himself, especially on the time trial course tomorrow.
Yes, you don't see TJ. He's a very serious young man, and he doesn't smile that often, but he said he really wanted this today, and he worked so hard for it, attacking like he did on the climb. He must have thought he'd lost it when they all joined him on the way down of the Independence Pass, but he got away again, and this time they couldn't keep up with him.
No, they certainly couldn't, but one man could keep up with him. That, of course, was George Hincapie, 38 years of age. There's the celebration for TJ Van Garderen, but now he's got to get himself back to the hotel and get his mind ready for tomorrow, because a time trial is always a very difficult event, but when it's a time trial uphill, it's even more difficult, and if you get it wrong, you can lose huge chunks of time.
Yes, and again, the club mates will look forward to tomorrow, and they're still very much a threat in the overall. 1 or 2 of them have got a high position up there. George Hincapie, for the moment, is in the podium positions now. This has put him up into 2nd place overall by my calculations in the event, and so George is now threatening TJ, but TJ might get his own back in the time trial tomorrow and open up just a bit. But listen to this cheers. This guy is the most popular cyclist in the United States. He's 39 years of age now, George, but everybody loves it when George wins.
No, they certainly do, and that was a well-timed sprint there. He sat and waited. He's got the calmness of being a professional, Phil, since 1994, and he knew exactly where he needed to be. He was in 4th place coming around the final couple of corners, then he moved up to 3rd, then he moved into 2nd. When he saw TJ Van Garderen start to open up his sprint, he just popped by him.
Yeah, before he rings me up, he's 38 years of age. I've added a year on. He'll be 39 when he gets into the Tour de France next year. His birthday coming in June. and he'll be riding and looking for his 17th Tour. We thought he was going to retire last year. He had one more year with Cadell. Cadell wins the Tour for him. He said, I've got to go again next year now, and that's great by us.
And don't forget, Phil, he's in second place in the overall standings, and he's not a bad individual time trialist. And if he's in a group like that towards the end of a race like today's stage, he too has got great form after the Tour de France.
Yeah, and that's after working hard to keep Cadell in the race and then finding himself in the front group. So yeah, you're right, he could finish up in the podium in Denver.
And that's something that he'll be looking to. It's amazing when you reminded me that he hasn't won a race since 2009 when he was the American national champion. He almost defended that title, didn't he, just recently, and when he was popped down into second place.
And there's some more flowers for TJ Van Garderen. He also becomes the recipient, although he won't wear it tomorrow, of the Best Young Rider, the Sheet Energy Strips jersey, which he's worn since the start when he claimed that in the time trial in Colorado Springs. So he's got the lead in 2 competitions now. And they were waiting for third place Tommy Danielson now to come on stage. And don't write Tommy off either, because he comes from Boulder, Colorado.
Well, Phil, before the start of this race, he said he wanted to try and get himself the overall victory. So far, he's done everything right. But it's every man for himself tomorrow in the individual time trial as he comes forward to get the photographs taken. That's the podium for today's stage. And I have to say, Hincapie timed that to perfection. But what can he do tomorrow?
Well, Tommy D, 9th in the Tour of Switzerland, 9th in the Tour de France, and now sitting up in the top 3 here. So Tommy D just smiles out at the crowd. He's done his job today. He'd be very, very happy with that. And the Garmin Cervelo team are based here in Colorado as well, which gives them a little bit of a hometown advantage. They spent time looking at the circuit here. And so he's gone well today to get into a breakaway without Levi Leipheimer, the Schlecks, and Cadell Evans. Now, tomorrow, as I say, it's a time trial. Let's go now to the Radio Shack route for the stage 3 of the USA Pro Cycling Challenge. This is a time trial. It's not very far. It's around 10 miles, but it could be very, very crucial in the event. It's all uphill, and that's when the riders can open up the time gaps. It's the race of truth, we always call it. We love saying that because you can't cheat in the slipstream of anybody, even behind the car. You're on your own. If the wind's blowing, it hits you. And it's also altitude, but nothing like the altitude we've been climbing. Although, having said that, we go about 1,500 feet elevation between Vale and going back to the finishing line as well. Remember, stage 2 Rio tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Tomorrow, don't forget, rematch in the Rockies comes to you at 3:30 p.m. and I think you'll enjoy that program, so come on board and enjoy it with us. And then followed by our live coverage, as always, coming to you at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So the tour goes on, sadly without 1 or 2 riders after the crash today, as they now conquer the 2 big passes of this year's race. There's still plenty more mountains to come. The crowd enjoyed the visit. For a full schedule, daily highlights, log on to NBCSports.com. We'll tell you everything there. And for the tour tracker, remember to go to USAProCyclingChallenge.com. Our clothing has been provided, as always, by Pearl Izumi. Congratulations today to George Hincapie. From all of us, though, at Versus, we say thanks for watching. We hope the pictures are a little bit better tomorrow with all of the team here in a wet Aspen. We say goodbye until tomorrow when we'll pop up in Vale. Goodbye for now.